Hello and welcome to the Captain DevOps channel, and today we'll be taking a look at the first lab in our series of courses here for the AI 102 certification from Microsoft. And I remember that we stopped on the last video when we skipped this very lab right here, which is just an introduction to Azure AI Foundry. So let's take a look, and I'll go through the lab with you guys, and I have this test environment right here, and we can use to take a look into what it's talking about here, and also maybe do some other comments about what the AI resources are and whatnot. So let's start. So this exercise takes approximately 30 minutes, but I suppose we'll be doing this in a lot shorter time. But yeah, this is the Azure AI Foundry portal, which is ai.azure.com. I already have an Azure subscription set up, so if you don't have that, you can sort of sign up for a free subscription and get a lot of services for free, and $200 of credit, I think, for the first year. But yeah, this is the AI Foundry portal, and yeah, there are a lot of quick tips and quick start panes that are open the first time we sign in, and we get this. But in my case, it's black, and it also has a little test project I created a while back, a month back actually. So if you go and create a project here, yeah, it's a collaborative workspace for AI development, and we choose a model that we want to work with and create a project to use it in. So, and here it's a brief explanation about the project versus the hub-based project, which each get their own separate resource type in Azure. And as we said in the last video, but just as a recap, the AI Foundry resources, they are more suited for smaller scale development of AI applications, and the AI Hub projects are if you need to do more enterprise related things with your AI project. So maybe connected to a separate virtual network, or maybe provision a separate a dedicated compute instance just to run the AI projects you have. So this is just the difference between these two, but we can maybe take a look at both of them here and just see what are the differences in setting it up. So here in the home page we can go into explore models and capabilities, which is this guide right here, I think. Maybe it's the create new. Let's see. Yeah, it's right here. Explore models and capabilities. We can see a brief list of all of the models here, but one of the recommended ones is the GPT-4o, which is not here in this list, but we can see in the full model catalog, which is also very cool here, so you can take a look. It also has a leaderboards for AI models here, but we just for the purposes of this lab, we are going to search for exactly the GPT-4o model, and let's see what it brings us. Here it is. This is the model catalog, and we can also use this model when prompted to create a project, enter a valid name for the project. Let's see, this is the use this model button, and these are a bunch of benchmarks. What else? This is just a brief description, the supported languages, the input types and outputs. And this is the part where we talked about a bit yesterday, where multimodal models, they support various modes of communication. So in the case of GPT-4 Omni, it supports text, image, or audio as input, but only outputs text as output. So you could have either text to text or maybe image to text conversations with it. And the training data was last updated on September 2023, which is also an important piece of information, because if you wanted this model to know about things that happened after this cutoff point, then we would have to hook it up to a search engine or something similar, so it could search the internet for finding the information it needs, just like us. So yeah. Some other details, I'm not sure what those are about. I believe those are benchmark scores. Yeah, and the transparency, relevant documents, responsible AI considerations. This is also something we talked about. The content filtering, which is also related to Azure AI content safety, which we discussed yesterday as well. But yeah, and here is the estimated cost. Maybe let's take a look into this. Maybe let's see where this brings us. And this is in Portuguese because by default it's in Portuguese here in my account. But model leaderboards in Azure AI Foundry. I suppose this is estimated cost. I'm not sure why it brought me here, but yeah, maybe let's search for the pricing and see if we get anything. Wait, yep, apparently not. So yeah, I think this is just maybe a misleading link. Not sure. Um, did I click the right one? Yeah, I clicked the right one. So we won't worry too much about that. Some benchmarks, which is also very cool because we can compare it with other models. So um, the actual model that we use is probably going to determine the cost, the sort of accuracy of the responses, how much it hallucinates, and these sorts of things. And the AI benchmarks are sort of tests that they conduct with the models in which I think they just they solve a bunch of exam questions. I think I'm not sure how exactly the benchmarks are calculated. Maybe we can look this up later. But yeah, this is some of the results comparing all of these models. So yeah, and here it's a comparison against OpenAI, Llama, and the Microsoft Phi 4 model, which is I think a small language model, I believe. Yeah. Um, Also the throughput, which is very important since the model needs to generate output faster, right? But yeah, here we can take a look at the all of those variables for all of our models, and in this case the GPT-4 Omni is the most expensive cost, and this is measured in 1 million tokens. So if we make it generate 1 million tokens, and I'll get to what a token is in a second, but the cost of this is going to be $4.30, whereas maybe the Phi model, which is specifically a small language model, only costs 2 cents, 20 cents to generate a million tokens. A token is roughly a word, but sometimes if a word is uncommon or if it's like a proper name of a place that isn't very mentioned in media and stuff, it can grow into more tokens per word, but you can think of a token as roughly one word in the terms of AI models here. Yeah. Also, just to understand a bit more about the tokens, I think I mentioned the 3 blue 1 brown video in the last yesterday, but so you can also take a look into that video, and maybe I'll go ahead and reference it later at a couple more instances here in the series. But yeah, there are a bunch of metrics for it. The same model can have different versions, which is also very interesting because maybe you can compare the other version here and see that, for instance, there are less metrics that are being benchmarked here. So maybe they aren't really, maybe they didn't run the test, or they aren't included here by default. I'm not sure. But yeah, let's just use the most recent version. And what else can we do? We can go into use this model, I think. Yeah, use this model, and this project is going to be called AI 102 Day 3. And this is my email here. What else? What else? Yeah, I'm probably going to have to change subscriptions here. Just 1 second. Um. mhm, mhm. Let's see if I can figure this out. I'll probably leave this in because this is also something interesting, since we can take a look at what we can do about the permission issues here. Um, maybe we can sort of try to create a new resource. Yeah, and this is like a different way to arrive at where we were before. So here we can choose between an Azure AI Foundry resource and AI Hub resource. So yeah, here it pretty much tells us right off the bat the difference between those two, which is using open source models, machine learning capabilities. What else? You can access the machine learning APIs, and yeah. And this also creates an AI Foundry resource under the hood, so it's also good to know. But let's just go ahead and do this. And yeah, these are a bunch of other errors since I don't think I'm on the right subscription here. So maybe let's see. This is the subscription I want, and maybe this sort of takes care of the other errors. Maybe I just got scared for a second there. All good. Maybe let's name the project AI 102. Maybe day 3. And yeah, here it creates the project name, the AI Foundry resource, and this resource, that whatever it says in resource, you can think of it being created in Azure itself. So we can expect to see something with this name in Azure in just a second. Also, I selected my subscription, so in this case it's the NPM subscription I have. Public network access enabled, the resource group, and in this case I'm going to create a new one, but I'm not going to give it this name. It's going to be RG, maybe AI 102 day 3, just so we can keep things organized. And since I left out the dash here, I'm going to make the same name on both places. And also the region, maybe let's keep yeah, let's keep with East US 2, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're good. And great. Let's see. And yeah, right now it's setting up the project and showing us a slideshow. And I'm not sure if how long this will take. But if it takes a long while, we'll just cut the video here. But yeah, this is the same thing that's written right here. I need to be aware of my camera. But yeah, it's customize and specify the following settings for the project. So the resource, the subscription, resource group, and region. Yeah, and here it says that some AI resources are constrained by regional model quotas. So maybe a certain specific model may be provisioned up to a certain point in a specific region, and if it exceeds that, then we reach a limit of usage of that particular model. And here is the create button, and then we'll wait a while after while it creates here. Let's see what it says here. Setting up Azure AI Foundry for you. Yeah, it's just pretty generic message. So maybe we'll take this. Let's see what's waiting for us while we wait here, because I really don't want to go through the trouble of splicing the video later. But create and wait for the project. And when it's created, the playground will be open. So there will be a little chat message here for us to take a look at, and a lot of options that we can take a look. And then what else? The overview pane, which has a lot of things, the API key tokens and whatnot, which I'm not going to show here, since I don't. And even if I did, it will probably not exist after I record this video, so I don't think there's an issue. What else? The management center, which has a very similar view, if you can see, to the Azure details related to a specific resource. So here we get the name, the subscription, resource group, endpoint, and a lot of information about the location and SKUs we have. What else? Yeah, and also it's trying to create the things here. It's trying to direct us to take a look at the Azure part of things. So maybe let's try to take a look into that while it's creating. Maybe let's see if we get anything. Yep, here it is. It's the Azure AI Foundry resource, and if we take a look into this, maybe it's still trying to create the project resource here, but the AI Foundry resource itself already exists, and it's a pretty basic Azure resource. It reminds me a bit of the Databricks resource in Azure as well. But yeah, let's take a look. The playground, it's opening right here. I believe this is just waiting for the other guy to start because it's trying to create a deployment, probably. Yeah. So it's not going to take us to the chat right away, but here we can see that we are working in the specific resource, and it has the specific resource group and the ID of the subscription, and it's all done. Let's take a look. Maybe if I refresh the page here in Azure, we'll see the other project here. Yeah. So this is the AI 102 Day 3 project, which is inside this AI Foundry resource. And if you take a look into Azure, maybe I'm not sure if we are going to see anything too different here, because those are just the generic um, Azure properties of all resources. So yeah, security is Microsoft Defender, the regular monitoring. Maybe let's see what metrics we can get here. What does it provide for us? Yeah, I'm not sure if it's loaded any metrics yet, but there are also logs here that we can hook up to Log Analytics workspace, diagnostic settings, which are also related to sort of log analytics, but in this case it's only providing all of the metrics, so we can't get only a specific type of diagnostic metric from here. What else? Let's take a look at the project itself. Let's stop stalling here. So as you can see, the project is created, and we can go into the Playgrounds tab here, and let's maybe where we need to go here is the overview. Maybe let's see. Azure OpenAPI. Maybe let's take a look at the playgrounds and try the chat playground. This is what I wanted. It opened a lot of things there, and I got a bit confused, but here it is. And let's see. The project is created. The playground. Let's see. Maybe if I just refresh the page, it will pick up the GPT-4 Omni resource that we created just now. It didn't, so maybe I did something wrong here, but maybe let's try to create a new deployment. Let's see. It did GPT. Yeah, so what I probably did, not sure why there aren't any models showing up. And here they are. This is the one we want. Let's confirm. And now we can select some deployment options, but I'll keep everything as default. Those are the SKUs, the possible SKUs of deploying the models, and they go through a spectrum of the first three are serverless in a sense, but you can still control where the data is stored about them. So maybe it can be global, restricted to a specific zone, or standard, which is just for a region. And you have the same equivalent SKUs, but for provisioned capacity. So you can choose. You have like two different axes to choose from. Yeah, there aren't too many things that we need to worry about here. So let's just deploy it, and let's see what we can do after it's deployed. So create a system message. Maybe you're an AI assistant that helps people find information, and this is the prompt, the system prompt, which is always sent to the model after each request, because we have to remember that under the hood, this model, this GPT-4 Omni, is just a very large string of floating point numbers, so it doesn't really have persistence, and it doesn't really understand what a conversation is. So you always need to provide all of the context it needs to be able to respond efficiently. So here we can see, and maybe let's pay attention to this number of tokens to be sent, which also helps us to measure how much we are using the model itself, we can see here that as I type, maybe let's see. I think there's like a suggestion here that we can see for a specific prompt. I think, right? Where is it? I think I lost it. Mm, yeah, that's the generative AI model here. You are a history teacher who can answer questions about all past events around the world. So maybe let's copy this example here and use it as our own. And yeah, we are updating the system message. And let's see, you can also see that since this message is a little bit longer, this also amounts to the total of tokens here, which is now 17 instead of 11. So yeah, all of the tokens, and we are also going to see the responses it brings us. They are going to be sent as tokens as well. So maybe let's ask what important events happened in the year 1500. Maybe let's see. Yeah, so we have a couple of events here. So there are a couple of them that I really didn't know about, but yeah, world events, Europe, Asia, Africa, and technological and cultural developments, and all of this. I was more concerned about this one, which is more relevant for me, but I'm not sure about the other guys here. So, but it seems pretty good. Not sure why the America discovery is a world event though. Maybe it's a bit of a bias as well. Yeah. So this is just a very standard response of the model, and here you can see that since it responded and we are going to send a history to it, now we have 700 tokens to be sent. So maybe let's just say, let's just ask it, why is Brazil, sorry, listed as a world event and not an America? Maybe let's see how it justifies itself. Yeah, so this is a big response here, but I think it's probably saying that world event it reflects how Europeans discovered the continent, so it wasn't really a part of the world in the European sense of the word. So here we can see a bit of a bias of the model, which is something I was talking about, since most literature usually focuses very much on Europe and maybe a bit on Asia and Africa, but not maybe too much on America, for example. Not sure about that though. I'm not an historian, but yeah, it's very good. Let's see what else we can mess around with here. Maybe the response format. I think we can only output text and JSON, since the for-o only outputs text. But here there are a lot of some other panes that we can take a look at, and probably during the course of the module we will take a look at all of those other tabs here. So maybe let's take a look into the overview pane here, and we'll take a look. So there are a lot of endpoints and keys, and all of them have their own endpoints. So in a sense, you can see here that I have a specific URL that I can use to call the model through the API, and in a sense, the model is still an API like all others. Even though, if you think about it, most other Azure resources have their own APIs and their own SDKs that interact with those APIs under the hood. So this is not too different from what we are already doing from a coding point of view. So this is very interesting. Also, we get an API key to authenticate. What else do we have here? The overview. But where do I get here? It's the management center, which is, let's see if I can find it. Right here in the bottom. And this is the actual management center, which has all of the details here. Maybe I can create a new project in the same resource, which is very interesting. Also, we can see the users. Maybe I won't show that too much. The overview. So yeah, some connector resources, project users, whatnot. Also use, and this related to the project itself, the connections, and the quota, which is also very interesting for us to see here. Azure OpenAI standard plus batch. Yeah, and here we can sort of track the usage quota that we still have left for a model. So, and also change it. So maybe I don't want it outputting 50,000 tokens per minute, capacity tokens per minute. Maybe I can only restrict it to 1,000 tokens per minute, for example. And this probably has an impact on the cost of the model, for example. What else? We can sort of increase this quota if we want. Let's see. And by default it only shows the actual quota we're using, so you can see here that it's separated by region, model, and SKU. So if you deployed your model differently, maybe it will show differently for you, but here if we show everything we can see all of the different model quotas we have. And I'm not sure if in this case it's specific to the model we deployed here, for example this project, or if this quota relates to our subscription in general. Maybe we'll figure this out later, and if not, this is already something for us to research about. Yeah. What else? This is the Azure Resource Group. We already take a look at that. The project connections. So this is the endpoint and keys, the test, and the summary. And now it's the most important part. We are going to delete this little lab that we made. So you can just go here, and since the project is created as an Azure resource group, we can just delete the resource group, and this will take care of itself. So yeah, the RRG AI 102 day 3, and delete. And while this is being deleted, I must say that since the AI Foundry projects are built on top of an Azure subscription, since you saw that we needed to pass an Azure subscription to it before we created it, so even though it's a separate portal, we don't really have to worry about being afraid of having something in the AI portal that we can't take a look at in the Azure portal, the regular old Azure Cloud portal. That is going to cost us something, because the cost management is always in Azure, since it's related to the subscription. So if we want to delete everything, there you go, we can just delete everything in Azure and it's good to go. And I think this is a very good stopping point for the video today. This was a very interesting section, because we managed to see a bit about the AI Foundry portal itself, and mess around a bit with the GPT-4 Omni model, and also talk a bit about the exercise here in the model, in the module rather. And here my resource group is deleted already. So I think this completes the video, and this is very good for us, because now next module, let's just see a preview what's to come here. Oh, I went back too far, sorry. Develop generative AI apps on Azure. This is the module, and let me just translate it to English, because it keeps coming back to Portuguese. But choose and deploy models from the model catalog in Azure AI Foundry portal. So maybe this is going to be just a lot about the model catalog here in the AI Foundry, and maybe I'll recreate this lab before we do the exercise in it, so we already have a little jumping off point before we start messing around. And the other one is developing an app with the SDK, so this is already very exciting, since we are going to use code to actually talk to the models here in Azure, which particularly is the thing that I'm most excited about. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the video, and maybe if you have any suggestions or things that you like to see in these series, maybe just comment it down below and I'll answer you there, or maybe in the video itself. So that's it, and bye bye.